Now when you're buying a used car, of course, you want to look at the exterior, see if anything's been dinged or bashed. Just the normal everything, and in this case, the car's in excellent shape. The paint's in really good shape. And this is a high-tech Outback. It's the partial zero emissions one. Gets fantastic gas mileage. It's a 2011, so it's 10 years old, but even the wheels are still in excellent shape. Now, Subaru does make solid cars, but over the course of time, sometimes they had problems with the 4 cylinders blowing head gaskets and the 6s blowing head gaskets, and the transmission's acting odd. So that's the first thing you want to check on one of these. This is the 4-cylinder boxer engine. And even though they're not super heavy powered, in modern Subarus, they have the big problems that the old ones did with blowing head gaskets, and they actually are a longer lasting engine than the 6-cylinder Subaru boxer engines. From my experience with Subarus, do not buy a used 6-cylinder Subaru. I have customers with new ones that the engine started making noises and rattling with 50, 60,000 miles on them. And when they found out it was going to cost thousands of dollars, they just lived with the noise, which is kind of annoying that they had a luxurious car with a 6-cylinder engine that made ticking noises. So let's start this one up, see how it cranks up. Starts right up, we'll put it in gear, and you can see it's got a nice stable idle, very smooth. This is not shaking at all. Sounds good. Now this does have 132,000 miles on it, but I've seen it with 232,000 miles, and what you hear here is normal 4-cylinder Subaru engine. They are a little bit louder, but that's totally normal. Boxer engines were radical engines many, many moons ago. They're somewhat noisy engines. They always were. Take the classic Volkswagen Beetle. It was a 4-cylinder boxer engine like this. They were very noisy as they aged, but they still ran, and this one still runs perfectly fine. Now the next thing you absolutely positively want to check in a Subaru is the transmission. This is an automatic transmission, so let's see how it goes. We want to see how it feels, so a good road test consists of this. See how smooth it is. Go downhill, take your foot off, check for any odd noises, and then of course go uphill, which is what's coming up. You want to check it in various situations. Now it's gliding. Sometimes they have problems when you're decelerating. This one doesn't. Now we're going uphill. We'll give it a little gas. It's got plenty of zip. No clunking, feels totally smooth. You can check the axle system by turning sharp one way then the other. No odd noises. We don't have any CV problems or the joints wearing. But if you ever want a little fun with this model, we got it in first gear. You can put it in a manual mode and use these flippers to shift gear. So let's try that a little. See how it takes off. Got a little more zip. Goes smooth when you hit it. So this transmission works perfectly fine. It is a CVT transmission, the constantly variant transmission, which was the biggest failure of these 2011s. Now, they bought it from a Subaru mechanic. Now, the mechanic bought the car for around $3,000, and he said that he did about $1,900 worth of work on the transmission. Now, if you would pay a mechanic to fix one of these transmissions, you're going to be paying a lot more than $1,900. I've seen people spend $6,500, $7,500 having the transmissions completely replaced. But this guy was a Subaru mechanic. He knew them, and he said he did $1,900 worth of work on a transmission. He did a good job because it's working perfectly fine. But if you're buying one of these and you know no history of it, and the transmission does not feel right, don't buy it. But this guy knew what he was doing. That's the thing about Subarus. If you find people that work on them, they tend to love them, they understand them. Just like take rotary engines with Mazdas. I know guys that are really good with them. They love them and they know how to fix them, and it's not all that bad because they've done so many of them. But if you go to a general repair shop and you have them fix this transmission, odds are they'll botch up the job. You want to stick with Subaru guys on that stuff. And now comes the giant scan tool. You can't hide from it. Let's see if any data's amiss on this. It knows what it is. Diagnosis, auto scan. Now, this vehicle was purchased 3 days ago. You don't want to do what the owners did. You want to have a mechanic like me check it out before, not after. But this guy seems pretty cool. He's a Subaru mechanic. He says, if there's any problems, I'll take care of it. And so far, it's going quite well. And it's found some problems with the tire pressure system, the parking brake system, and the ABS system. The engine and everything's good, but let's take a look at the ABS. It shows in the past, a long time ago, it had ECM and a TCM malfunction. This has electronic parking system, and that shows some codes. We'll see what they are. It also has ECM code and a transmission code. Tire pressuring system has 7 faults. They're all showing that there's loss of tire pressure, data's abnormal, vehicle speed is abnormal. Now, a lot of these codes are probably related. This did have a lot of transmission work done on it. I'm thinking maybe the guy just didn't reset all these codes. So I'm going to reset them all. Scanner's good because you can erase them all. We push quick erase, put the key on, so the key is on, but the car isn't running. Now it's erasing them all. Now this vehicle runs perfectly fine, shifts fine, stops fine. Didn't have any lights for the tire pressure monitoring system or for the ABS system. I'm assuming the guy didn't reset it right. He seems like an honest guy, so if none of these codes come back, he just forgot to reset them, which I'm assuming probably happened because they said he was actually working on the car when they came to pick it up. Now, a lot of these are ancillary things you might not care about in a car that is 10 years old. I got many customers. The tire pressure monitoring system doesn't work anymore. Heck, you get a tire gauge. Doesn't cost $10 now for a good one. So there's a lot of stuff you might just want to live with. But in this case, since they bought it from a Subaru guy, who knows, if it never comes back, well, he just forgot to reset everything. So yeah, a lot of people are looking for nice SUVs, all-wheel drive. This is a good car. The minor stuff, hey, you argue back and forth on that. But the engine and the transmission are good since the guy repaired the transmission. He seemed to have done a really good job on it. Like I said, if you're looking at a 2011 Outback and it's all original and it's got 130, watch that transmission closely. Personally, I wouldn't even buy one and with that kind of mileage on it, unless a Subaru mechanic had already rebuilt it. In this case, it was rebuilt right before they bought it. And he did do a good job. So that's one thing you really got to watch out on these. But now, hey, the original one went 130,000 miles. Heck, if this one goes 130,000 miles, well, I think it's their money's worth out of it then. These are very stable driving cars with the all-wheel drive, and as the partial zero-emission ones, this thing gets 33 miles a gallon on a highway. So, you know, they can be very good cars. Just make sure you get a guy like me to check it out before you buy it. That's the big thing. They got lucky, but then again, this guy seems like an honest Subaru mechanic, knows what he's doing, and he did fix it correctly. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Transmission shifts like a dream, whether it's in automatic or in manual mode. If you are road testing them, you want to try the manual mode and the automatic, make sure it all works, and if there's any flaws, don't buy it used. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Joe Dobbs, 95, says, Scotty, I changed my Honda Fit automatic transmission fluid at 60,000 miles. Should I change it at every 30 now? Thoughts? Well, you know, those Fits are really well made. You could keep changing it at every 60 if you wanted. Use the Honda fluid. It wouldn't hurt anything. Those are excellent vehicles. They have pretty good transmissions in them, too. And they're smaller cars, so they're lighter weight. The main Honda transmission failures are on their larger vehicles that have V6 engines with a lot of power or turbocharged engines that have a lot of power, and that extra power burns the transmissions out. But with a Fit, they're not all that powerful, and they can often last a really long time. The customer's got 250K on theirs, and it still shifts good. Robert Denise says, Scotty, Merry Christmas. Our family just bought a 2016 Town & Country Touring out with 54,000 miles. They were heavy smokers, the original owners. How do we get the smoke out? This actually works quite well, as nutty as it sounds. You can buy a machine that generates ozone. You can get them as little as 60, 70 bucks on Amazon. And what you do is you take your car outside, you roll the windows up, you put it on recirc air, so the air just blows inside, and you turn the ozone machine, leave it on for an hour and a half, 2 hours. The ozone gets rid of the odors by combining ozone with it and neutralizing them. Ozone itself, if you sat in a car full of ozone, you'd die because there's no oxygen for you to breathe because it turns the oxygen into ozone. So when you're done, what you do is you unplug the machine, then you open the doors, and then you put the car on fresh air with the doors and windows rolled down and let it sit for 15-20 minutes, and all the ozone will be blown out. And you'll probably find the odor is gone. It'll smell like ozone. You know, after a lightning storm, you smell that smell. That's ozone from lightning strikes. You'll smell that, but it will get rid of the smoke odor. I've tried that, and it works quite well. Just make sure there's no animals or children in the back seat when you're doing it rolled up, because there won't be any oxygen for them to breathe inside while it's cleaning it out. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.